Not only do we have to think about what we're putting into our bodies in terms of making sure we get what we need, such as those nutrients, we also have to make sure we keep out what we don't need, what is hazardous to us. So we're going to talk about carcinogens and chemical hazards. And carcinogens are things that can cause cancer. So some of Earth materials are hazardous if they're inhaled as dust or consumed in our food or drinking water. And its medical evidence suggests that exposure to dust from only a very few minerals is clearly linked to human problems. So this doesn't mean that every single piece of dust you inhale is bad. It means that some of the pieces of dust you inhale, depending on the mineral they were formed from, can be bad. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is aragonite. This is a fibrous zeolite. Remember, zeolites are just aluminosilicate minerals that are microporous, meaning really, really small pores. And zeolites are often used commercially as absorbents and catalysts. And because it has that fibrous texture, that can be really bad to inhale. Most minerals that have this fibrous texture are carcinogens. Aragonite is a major constituent of soils and rocks, especially in the Central Valley of Turkey. And in medical surveys, the population of a village there, back in the 70s, they found that the town had a large excess of mortality from a certain mesothelioma that's a highly malignant cancer. And the cause of this incurable and really quickly advancing cancer was attributed to how much aragonite was in the soil and therefore in the dust that these people were breathing in. Right. So the clear connection between the exposure to this dust, the exposure to this geologic environment, and cancer was acknowledged by the World Health Organization and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. However, aragonite is not currently regulated by the EPA, unlike the 6 asbestos minerals that we're going to talk about next. So in the U.S., this isn't a big deal. Just know that it's not regulated by the EPA. All right, so asbestos. This is regulated by the EPA. The term asbestos is not just a single mineral, it's actually 6 minerals, all of them being fibrous. Right? Remember, fibrous is what is bad to breathe in. Approximately 95% of asbestos that were produced commercially is the single mineral crystallite. It's also known as white asbestos. And about 5% is made up of what we call blue asbestos or crocodilite. Hold on, let me try to pronounce that again. Crocodolite. There we go, not a crocodile, crocodolite. All right, so medical studies on the harmfulness of different types of asbestos have found that they pose greater health hazards in occupational settings. Specifically, blue asbestos has a greater health hazard. And non-occupational asbestos, that means maybe you come into contact every now and again, but it's not a routine day-to-day, shows that it's not a significant health hazard, right? So if you are constantly working with asbestos every single day, it's absolutely dangerous. If you only come into contact it every now and again, it's not such a big deal. All right, silicate minerals. And I know you're thinking to yourself right now, wait, silicate minerals? Like quartz? Like how can quartz be a carcinogen? We're around quartz all the time. All of the sediment out here is made of quartz, right? Well, again, it depends on how you interact with it. Right. So in certain scenarios, yes, silicates like quartz can cause cancer. And the way they cause cancer is through inhaling the dust, right? So in some occupational settings, again, this is occupational. I'm not talking about day to day. You do not have to worry about the sand outside. But if you work in an occupation such as sandblasting, where you are constantly working in an environment where tiny little grains of quartz, small enough to be inhaled, are around you, then you are probably going to inhale quite a bit of quartz dust. And the main disease associated with this is silicosis, which is a progressive lung disease characterized by scar tissue in the lungs. In 1987, the International Agency for Research on Cancer declared quartz a carcinogen, right? So you might actually find when you buy sand, like play sand for a sandbox, there is actually a carcinogen warning on the back. This is absolutely not to say you shouldn't play in the sand. Go play in the sand, right? Just if you are going to be working in a sand blasting environment, wear a very good face mask, right? Or respirator. Right, so there's no evidence of excess mortality among humans who live long-term near quartz-rich beaches like us, or in deserts which have a lot of quartz and a lot of fierce dust storms. So the declaration of quartz as a carcinogen can be confusing to the public. Just keep in mind, again, it's industrial or habitual job-related exposure. It's not your day-to-day, I live on the beach, right? So don't worry about quartz. All right, finally, we're going to talk about arsenic. This is a number of elements such as arsenic, selenium, mercury, lead, manganese, so on and so on, can occur in soils or groundwater concentrations that are high enough to cause health problems. This means that at low concentrations, no problem at all. It's only when they get to a certain concentration that they can start to harm us. And hazardous concentrations of these elements often result from human activities, surprise, surprise, like mining and other industrial processes. Right, but they can occur naturally as well. So this map is showing areas with really high arsenic issues. And in some parts of the world, concentrations of arsenic in the groundwater are so high, it can cause public health problems. So for example, in Bangladesh alone, 60 million people are exposed to drinking water with high arsenic concentrations. Luckily, where we're at, it's not a big deal. So you don't have to worry about this, but do keep it in mind if you travel, right? Know where you're traveling and if it's safe for you to be drinking a lot of the groundwater.